All right. Well, again, welcome. Thank you to everybody who's joining us here tonight, or whether you are here live or the recording. My name is Rebecca Butler Mona, and this is our New Year, New You Health and Hope Night on January 24th, 2024. And we are thrilled to have so many people joining us live, and we've got an exciting night planned for you tonight. Looking forward to having several people share their inspiring stories with you, and it's going to be awesome. So if you'll bear with me, I'm hoping I can get something up on the screen for you here that you can all see. So is everybody able to hopefully see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see it in the slide deck, but we need to get it in presenter mode. There
Very
you go.
good. You with me now? Awesome. Well, thanks very much. And looking forward to an exciting evening. And, if the technology, if you're using this for the first time, sometimes it doesn't go smoothly. It's going to be great, right? It'll be all fine. But let me just share a little bit of background on myself for those I haven't met. Again, my name's Rebecca, and I got started on this health journey myself just a little over 4 years ago. And, after a lifetime of what I would call, honestly, yo-yo dieting, probably losing the same 25 pounds or so multiple times throughout my life, in high school, after college, before my wedding, after each of my kids, and so on. I'd finally just kind of accepted myself at a little bit larger size, had routinely about 3 sizes of clothing in my closet, had a pretty demanding corporate career. It was really hard to make time to make my health a priority. But I lost my dad to a sudden heart attack when he was only 54. And the older I got, the more I thought, I want to do something. So I'm around for those kids in the picture on the far right, or my kids who are now young adults. So I'm going to come out of screen share for a moment and just talk to you here. But so I was coming out of my corporate career. I took a volunteer role, and I was told, you'll probably gain about 20 pounds as you go to all these banquet meals and so on. And sure enough, I got to the end of that time, and they were right. So I found myself, in October of 2019, weighing in almost what I weighed when I was pregnant with my son, who at this point was in high school. So I couldn't call it baby weight. And I was just disgusted. And then I met a guy through my volunteer work who shared with me he had lost 100 pounds in the past year. And I said, I want to know how you did that. So Jim was his name. He shared with me about this program. And I thought, you know what? This sounds different. This is not just another diet. This is something that is really more about a change in lifestyle and developing healthier habits. And I found it to be extremely effective for me. And I went on to lose over 50 pounds. I've kept that off now for the past almost 4 years. And it's just been a blessing. And I've been able to now go on and help other people because I decided, as much as it's made a difference in my life, I would love to help other people too. And it's just been given me some great purpose and candidly help pay for some of those college expenses for my kids, which was fantastic. So with that, let me just jump in and share a little bit more with you about what we're going to talk about here tonight. And welcome to those who've joined since we kicked off. So I don't know about you, but I think many of us start the year with New Year's resolutions. And sadly, here we are on the 24th of January, and I'm told that by the second or third week of January, most people have already given up on these resolutions, but they started out this year with the top 5 of those being in areas that, frankly, we'll talk about tonight: improving fitness, improving finances, mental health, losing weight, improving diet, and you can see it goes on from there. So I'm curious, what are you trying to level up in your own life? Feel free to comment in the chat if you'd like on the things that are important to you. Is it something from this list or anything different? Would love to hear from you. And along those lines, where do you see yourself in 2024? If you think about making a dream board or a vision board, what are those goals that are most important to you? Sometimes it's helpful to think about it in terms of, what do you want more of? What do you want less of? And here we are on the 24th of January with 1 week to go. How's it going for you? How's it wrapping up? Is it going the way you want? We sometimes think about this in terms of what we call the trilogy of health. So healthy body is what a lot of us think about, but equally important for many of us, and what you saw in those top 5 on that list that we looked at for resolutions, it's also healthy mind and healthy finances. So if you look at this little chart here on the right and think about your assessment of yourself on like a 0 to 10 scale, with 0 being the lowest and 10 being really what's optimal for you, and you can see some descriptions in here that might give you a bit of a gauge of how to assess yourself. Where would you see yourself in each of these areas? And, feel free to drop that in the chat if you're comfortable doing that. Really give yourself a critical eye and say, what would it be? And when we think about how to improve on that, if it's not a 9 or 10 for you, we often use this concept of structural tension. And the idea behind that is, if you think about it like a rubber band, with your current reality being down here on the bottom and where you want to be at the top, there's some tension as you try to get from where you are to where you want to be. And how you do that is setting up a set of steps in between. So here, the current reality is wherever you were on that 0 to 10 scale in each of those areas. And then think about, where do you want to be? What would it take for you to get to that 10 or whatever it is for you in those areas? And what are the actions between now and then that you need to build on to deliver that for yourself? For many of us, it falls into one of these habits of health, especially when we talk about the healthy mind and healthy body. So healthy mindfulness or mindset, nutrition and hydration is certainly something that is very important. We'll touch on this a little bit more. Healthy motion, getting up, moving around, even little steps can make a huge difference. Healthy sleep, often we don't realize how important sleep is to our overall health, the amount of energy we have through the day, but also how our body just functions. We need 7 or 8 quality hours of sleep a night, and most Americans don't get that. Healthy surroundings, what do we put in our pantry, and who are the people that surround us with can make a big difference as well. And ultimately, those things fall into what helps us to achieve a healthy weight management or not. So again, current reality, where do we want to go, and what are the steps to get there? So for many of us, there are some barriers that are standing in our way, and just a few of the common ones. And I'd be curious, which of these really resonate with you, and feel free to drop them in the chat as we go. But for some people, it's just, I don't know what to do. I don't know what steps to take. I know what I'd like to achieve, but I'm just not sure how to get there. For others, it might be fear. I've tried this before. I've tried literally everything and I failed every time, and I'm just not ready to take another step. For others, it might be, I don't have the support from my family or from my friends or in my workplace, and that makes it tough for me. Or maybe I'm just too stressed out. I just can't imagine adding one more thing. Or maybe it's a lack of motivation, just getting myself motivated. I think that idea of those resolutions and people giving up in the 2nd or 3rd week, sometimes that's a reality. Energy can play into that as well. Sometimes we don't see it a priority to invest in ourselves. Time, it can take time. If I wanted to get healthier, for example, to plan and purchase and portion size and prepare and all those things. And, if I fail to plan, some people say I'm planning to fail. So with those kinds of barriers in mind, it's always inspiring to find people who have found something that works for them and have just absolutely rocked it. And I'm thrilled to introduce you to the first highlighted speakers for this evening on our program, Brian and Kathy. Kathy is one of my kids' favorite high school teachers, and Brian, her lovely husband here, is also a hospice chaplain and drives a school bus during the year. The two of them have teamed up together and have absolutely done an amazing job. And it's so cool to see a couple supporting each other in their health journey. So I'd like to invite them both to come off mute and to join us and share with us about their story. Brian and Kathy, take it away.
Hey, well, thanks so much for having us here tonight. I just want to give a shout out to my sister, who I see is on this call, and she was a longtime inspiration to me. She's always lived such a healthy life, and modeled things for me whenever we were visiting my mom together. So thank you, Stephanie, for inspiring me that this could be done, even though we were born into a pear-shaped family. And my Rebecca's kids were my students when she went through this journey of losing so much weight. And so that I had someone in the back of my mind who had accomplished this. She and I had talked a number of different times, and I kept saying, oh, I think I'm okay. I think, if I just walk 10,000 steps a day, I'm going to be okay. That didn't take the weight off. Well, if I just do this little Noom thing, I think it's going to work. And so there were 4 years of me trying these different things and actually even getting a little healthier before I ran into Rebecca at a grad party and talked to her again and said, I think I'm ready to do that thing that you did that made you lose weight so successfully. And it's been a great journey to do it with Brian. We both had gotten to this point where the charts said that we were a kind of weight that we never imagined us two skinny college kids would ever become. It was embarrassing and horrifying, and we were finally ready to really do something about it. So I would say that for us, the plan helped us drop the pounds that then make it possible for us to really focus on the exercise and the healthy habits that are hopefully going to keep us moving and doing fun things all through retirement.
Yeah. Well said.
Okay.
I won't add too well. I could go on and on, but we jumped into this about June, and I'm not a tag along. We both jumped in with both feet and really kept at it, kept encouraging one another, kept discovering new the Lean and Green recipes that we'd make together, and we continue to do that. And together we lost over 100 pounds. And we've maintained that now. We started in June and it's January. We're I think successfully maintaining that weight and watching it closely. And it's a good healthy lifestyle. It's been really a good thing for us, and want to encourage anyone to do it and to live healthier. The word was obese. Oh. I don't want to think of myself as obese, but that's what the chart said, and so that was a motivator too to get back into the not just back to overweight, but into normal, acceptable weight for my our body style, our body weight.
Mm-hmm.
So
the week before we began, we were out in Utah on vacation and hiking in 8,000 feet above sea level and realizing really our physical limitations. And last Sunday, now granted, this is Iowa and we weren't at 8,000 feet above sea level, but we went out cross-country skiing, and we honestly had said to each other a couple of years ago, I think our skiing years are over. And I was so happy on Sunday to be able to be out skiing. We didn't fall. We weren't exhausted. And I'm like, oh, maybe our skiing years aren't over after all. And so we kind of feel like we have this new lease on life.
yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, you're very inspiring, and it's been so fun to work with you both and to see you really taking on these adventures, the hiking and the skiing and the hanging out with grandkids and all that wonderful stuff. So thank you for the honor of teaming up with you, and thank you so much for making time to come share with everybody here tonight. We really appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, Becca.
All right. So that was Team Bop, Brian and Kathy. So let me share a little bit more with you then about what we've all been doing. So I want to let you know about a doctor that we all call Dr. A. So Dr. Wayne Scott Anderson is really the co-founder of this program we've been following. So a little bit of background on Dr. A, top of his class in medical school, just a brilliant guy. He trained in cardiac anesthesiology at the very prestigious Cleveland Clinic, and he was actually the 10th, so one of the first 10 board certified in what at the time was an emerging area of critical care. He is the surgical, or was the surgical critical care director at Grandview Hospital and served as the department chair of anesthesiology there for 18 years. But about 20 years ago, after the way he described it, he kept saving people sort of right before they died. You know, they would come to him kind of at that last legs. And he's like, you know, I want to find a way to help people in a more preventive way. And he recognized a lot of the health issues that were making people arrive in his operating room were caused by being overweight and obese. And folks, 75% of Americans now are overweight or obese. So this is a pervasive problem. So he wrote a book called Habits of Health for Lifelong Transformation. And then he started this program, and that really has continued to serve as the foundation for the program that we're following here. And one of the things I think makes it really unique is, you know, if you look at this cycle, you know, many of us are starting at this overweight stage. And, you know, we're obviously looking to lose weight and get to a healthy weight. But what I think is really unique here is this journey doesn't end there. It's intended to be, you know, moving from that unhealthy or worse than unhealthy stage to a healthy stage, but then saying, what is the health I want to create in my life? You know, how do I really optimize that? You know, I transition not to just maintain, but to continue to find ways to level up my health, ultimately to ultra health and longevity. And, you know, honestly, the older I get, the more it matters to me that I create longer and better years ahead. And maybe that, you know, resonates with some of you as well. And, you know, if we think about how to do that, it really comes down to these habits of health that I touched on a little bit earlier. So, you know, to get to that healthy weight management, it's really around these other sort of supporting habits. So this idea of healthy eating and hydration, you know, what Dr. Anderson's research has had him recommend to us in this program is to have 6 small meals a day every 2 to 3 hours. And having plenty of water. So water is so important for so many ways that our body needs to function. So what we recommend is a minimum of 64 ounces, but even a better rule of thumb is whatever our body weight is in pounds, to drink half that in ounces of water. So 200 pounds, 100 ounces. We also talk about habits of a healthy mind. So, you know, think about, you know, fueling ourselves with nutrition. You know, imagine thinking about just fueling our minds with positive thought, you know, with as an optimist, and many of you know I am, you know, this one really resonates with me because it's so much of our outlook and how we really see our lives is a function of how we feed our minds. Healthy sleep, again, something that so many Americans don't get for a variety of reasons. We really need 7 or 8 hours of quality sleep. Most adults do, to function well and have energy throughout the day. Healthy motion, you know, so this is, it can be a lot of exercise, but it's just also getting more movement into the day, and then ultimately having, you know, good tone and strength and so on as well. And then healthy surroundings. And, you know, I mentioned this earlier, but, you know, we talk about surrounding ourselves with an environment that will enable us to support the choices we want to make. And that environment might be, you know, do we or don't we have, you know, junk food around us on our counters in our pantry and things like that. But it can also be the people we spend our time with. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. So this program that you've heard us talk about a little bit has 4 components, and they all work together. So first is each of us has our own personal coach. And the idea behind that is this is not someone to be your food police or to be a judge of any kind. The coach is someone to be an encourager, to connect you with resources that you need, and to really be a support along your journey. And I personally found that to be hugely helpful. And it's why I decided that I would really like to help other people too. And as I continue to work with people, it's kind of like being a teacher. As you teach, you continue to learn. And I certainly find that to be true. The Habits of Health Transformation System. This is Dr. Anderson's book that he wrote, but also a companion that goes with it called Your Life Book. So think of that almost like a journal where you're learning about the habits, and those 6 habits are broken down into some smaller components, but then you're determining, where am I? Kind of back to that assessment we did at the beginning. Where am I versus where I want to be? And what are some of the steps I'm taking to get there? And then there's also a simple app for your phone, free app that allows you to track the nutrition that you're taking in, for example, but it has a wealth of recipes, like the recipes that Kathy and Brian talked about. The third part is our community. So in addition to webinars like this, and there's something like this on a weekly basis, at least, on different tips and maybe some of the chapters of the Habits of Health, for example, and sharing some stories. We have a private Facebook group that is designed for our people along the journey with us to be able to ask questions, to share recipes, to share successes, to share tips. And we also have on staff professional registered nutritionists and dietitians who are available to answer questions about, how our nutrition program works, maybe with some sensitivities you might have or anything like that. Always recommend to do that in conjunction with your own healthcare professionals. And then finally, our nutrition component. So there's a variety of different plans and programs. We have what we call fueling. So the idea of fueling your body with what it needs. So for those 6 small meals a day, those fuelings are low calorie, maybe about 100 calories a piece, but they are nutrient dense. They are protein and carb balanced. They have 24 vitamins and minerals and probiotics added and so on. So your body's getting the nutrition it needs. And then we also have what we call lean and green meals, lean proteins, green vegetables, that kind of thing that you can make yourself. And those things work together. Now we also have some supplements and so on, and I'll touch on that as well. But again, it's intended to be simple so that it's easy to fit into your very busy life. And we know that many of us are, but yet we can make it work. So let me share with you another amazing story. And this is my friend Jane. She lives over in eastern Iowa near Maquoketa, and she is an award-winning teacher who now teaches other future teachers. And I'm delighted to have her take herself off mute and come share her journey with you. So Jane, we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here and joining us, and hopefully considering a health journey, because that's really what I was looking for, was something more than just a weight loss program. I wanted something where I could feel healthier. I had noticed in the last several years just this lack of energy. Sometimes I just lay on the couch and think, oh, I don't even want to get up and walk to the bedroom. I'm just tired. And I did a lot of stress eating. I would go through the line at the grocery store and I'd be picking things off the shelf, all those tempting candy bars and that sort of stuff. And I would eat in the car when I was traveling and doing all stuff that really wasn't so healthy. And then in the summer of 2022, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I really knew I needed to do something. In October, I did the radiation, the 20 treatments of radiation, but I knew it was time. I needed to just really get serious about going on this health journey. And so I had talked to Rebecca. I saw her at an Optimist convention and just asked her, well, what are you doing? Can you tell me about? Because she just looks so healthy and she looks so great. And so she told me, she said, I'll talk to you about this program. Well, since then, I've talked to several people who I've noticed this big change in them and this energy that is just exuding from them, and found out they were on this program as well. And so it truly is a health journey. And for me, some of the motivation was just not to feel healthier, but also for my 6 grandkids, because I want to be able to play with them. I don't want to be short of breath. I want to be able to be stronger. I'm still working on the strength thing. I'm not there yet. But in the past 12 weeks, which I officially began the beginning of November, I have lost 15 pounds, which was my original goal. And now I'm thinking, well, I guess maybe I can lose more than that, because there's still some things about my body and my health that I want to change. So I just knew that I had to do something. And so the transition into this has been just a wonderful step for me. And also what I needed, I needed support. I knew I could not do this by myself. That doesn't work for me. I have to work with people. And so to have Rebecca as my coach has been a joy. To know that she's going to be checking in with me on Monday, and we're going to be talking about, the good and the bad and the ugly. And so it's just been an encouragement with that. And then now that I'm finding other people who are doing this program as well, it's fun to talk to them about, well, what foods do you like and how are you transitioning? So it's just been a real joy to be a part of it. And I felt like as I was watching the pounds drop off, I'm like, wow. And yet I feel energetic because I did that thing where you do that cleansing, and I did that and lost some weight, but man, I gained that all back because there was not the support. There was not the change of the healthy program where you're talking about what are your choices that you're making. And it's a well-rounded program. And I just appreciate all of the support that this program has given me. I love the life book. I just think it really helps a person to set goals. And I just have noticed a change, and I'm going to keep going. So thank you so much.
No, thank you so much, Jane. I'm grateful you approached me. So Jane's an example of someone I never would have thought to approach. Would never have thought of her as someone who was interested in getting healthier. Look at her, right through the holidays, she lost 15 pounds and she's still going strong, and she has such a fantastic attitude. So thank you for sharing. Really appreciate your journey as well. So as we continue on here, let me just share a little bit more about kind of how the pieces of this work. And I talked about creating healthy habits. So we talk about this in terms of creating not only one healthy habit at a time, but creating one optimal day at a time. So this is a kind of a logo you will see, but think of it as being broken down into the 24 hours of a day. And we call these like different radians. But if you look at that this way here, if we start off with getting 8 hours of sleep, so your day kind of starts with the night before, if you think of it that way. We talk about bookending that with what Dr. A refers to as a model morning and a twilight hour in the evening. So your model morning is kind of how you set up your day. So for many of us, the early time of the day and the end of the day is the time we have the most control over. And the time in between is when everybody else's demands tend to come to us, right? So if you can set up your day at the very beginning with maybe a little bit of time for reflection, some people might like to do some gratitude journaling or some devotion or meditation, and then laying out what your priorities are for the day. Then you go on from that, fueling your body, getting plenty of hydration, probably adding some motion in there. And then at the end of the day, ideally like an hour before you want to be asleep, have this twilight hour where you actually shut off your electronic devices that most of us fall asleep with, whether it's the TV, the computer, or our phone. Shut them down like an hour ahead. And that blue light, it actually makes an impact in our brain and how we can sleep. So do that, and maybe a little bit of journaling or reading, and then thinking about your priorities for the next day. So your twilight hour sets up your model morning, which then sets up the day. So that's kind of the simple way to look at it as we string together optimal days into optimal weeks, into months, into years. These things become a habit. Now, this is a little bit of a busy chart, but the main thing I want to get across is there are a number of different types of ways you can structure a plan for yourself depending on your needs. And this is something you'd work on with your coach, depending on your specific situation. So, we talk about having 6 small meals a day every 2 to 3 hours, but what those meals look like for you might vary. So for many of us, what we've done is what we call our 5-in-1 program. It's probably the most common, where we have 5 of our fuelings and then 1 lean and green meal that we make ourselves. Makes it very simple. It's very predictable and, works extremely well. But there are times where something in your particular medical situation might dictate something different. Like maybe you are an insulin dependent diabetic. Maybe you're a nursing mom, maybe something like, or maybe you're someone who doesn't actually want to lose weight. You're already at a healthy weight. You're just looking to create more lean muscle and that kind of thing. So there are different plans for that. Now, something that's brand new, we have a new partnership actually just introduced earlier this month with LifeMD for those who are actually doing medically supported weight loss. So commonly called the injections that many people are doing, where they, with their healthcare provider, think this is the right approach for them. But virtually all will acknowledge that if that's a path someone takes, if they don't make any other changes, when they stop using that drug, they will gain the weight back. So if you can surround the folks who are pursuing that path because it's something that their doctor feels is a good approach for them, they need to surround that with additional support, with the right kind of nutrition and learning healthy habits so that they can create a lifestyle change going forward. So a variety of different options. Another consideration is how much do you already exercise? We have a new active line that is intended to help preserve and also create more lean muscle mass. And if you're someone who's already exercising quite a bit, that'll be even more important. But any of us can use essential amino acids. And we have a variety of different resources to support and tools along this journey. Let me just tell you about a couple of those. So I mentioned the active line. So this was just introduced in the fall to support the fuelings and so on that are more like a meal replacement. The essential amino acids are something that are not only relevant if you're someone who already does a lot of exercise, but for someone like me, this is something I started using on a daily basis. You know, I'm working on strength training and yoga and things like that, but just if you don't already know, we tend to start losing lean muscle mass when we're about 30. And particularly for women who are past menopause, you know, it's really something that starts to decrease. So this is to help with that, as well as muscle recovery after workouts and so on. And then we have a whey protein powder, not so much for the weight loss phase, but more from optimal weight forward. I mentioned earlier the app that we have. So this is a little bit of what it looks like, a little phone app that can help you with tracking your weight, but also your meals and your hydration. You can even access some things around your orders and so on. But one of the really cool things integrated into this is lean and green recipes, and they can be sorted by this type of cuisine. I want Mexican or Chinese, or I want what kind of protein, all kinds of options for that. And then I mentioned the active line. You know, there are things you can do that just introduce more motion in your day, like walking instead of, you know, taking the elevator, walking a little farther away for your car where you park. But one of the other things that was introduced when we introduced that active line is a partnership with a company called Aptiv, who has a phone app based exercise set of routines, wide variety of them that might be for cardio or yoga or strength training. And they're offering them to our clients for 1/3 of what the price is to the public. So if that's something you're looking for as an alternative to going to the gym, for example, that's another offering that is available now, just introduced this past fall. So lots of great tools. And importantly, I hope it's obvious to you that you're at the center of this and everything else is really around you to support you. So starting with your coach, but also this community, as we've talked about, you know, the nutrition, the fuelings, things like that, the virtual clinic, that's like our nutritionists and so on, all kinds of online support for websites and Facebook pages and so on, the Habits of Health system and life book that Dr. Anderson developed. Healthy peers are a huge help. I've found it wonderful to have this like-minded community, but local friends as well. And then the app that we talked about, all of those things are there to support you along your journey. Now, one of the other things we touched on earlier is the importance of the people we surround ourselves with. So this is sometimes just a good time to pause and think, you know, who are the 5 people I spend the most time with? And are they the kind of influence on me that will move me in the direction of my goals? You know, there's a saying that we become like the 5 people we spend the most time with. So are those people as healthy or healthier than I want to be? You know, are they moving in the direction of the goals that I set at the beginning of this, you know, in that trilogy we talked about? Are they helping me there? Or are they people that might be leading me astray? Dr. Anderson calls those people accomplices. So I think of them as the ones who might tempt me with something because they want to make it a less healthy choice. They might try to actually sabotage me versus support me. So, something to think about here on, spending time with people who are on the same page as you with achieving goals and surrounding yourself with the best chance to succeed. So this final story I have to share with you tonight is somebody that I think does a remarkable job of being that kind of support to other people. This is my friend Kathy that I met back in my sorority days, which was more than a couple of years ago. And we've stayed in touch over the years and reconnected recently, and it's been super fun to work with her. Kathy is a semi-retired entrepreneur. She and her husband, Andy, have a store called Fleet Feet in the East Village here in Des Moines. And she also teaches people things like CPR and first aid. And she just has a heart for helping people. So it's been great to work with her, and I'd love to have her come off mute and share with you about her journey. So let me stop share so you can see her better. And Kathy, over to you.
Hi, thanks Rebecca for inviting me to participate. I have been so blessed by actually jumping in, and I'll tell everybody how that happened. So I appreciate your support and David's throughout all this journey. I gained weight when I had my daughter 30 years ago and never let it go. So I was obese, as Brian had mentioned. And when we got the store, I was the extra large person, or the one in the 1X, who was describing to all the other skinny employees what that felt like. My doctor had been telling me for 20 years, you got to lose weight. You're over 45. There are health risks associated with that. And I went to Peru in January of 2022. It took me 7 hours to do a 4-hour hike. We had to hire someone extra to stay with me because I was so slow and running out of breath. And I was losing classmates to heart attacks. And the kicker, and I was watching Rebecca all this time, inviting people, and I was saying, I don't want to do a program. I don't want to do a program. I can do this. And then one night, I woke up in the morning and Andy was sleeping. My husband was sleeping on the couch in the family room. And I said, how come? And he said, you were snoring so loud, I couldn't sleep. And that was it. I am not going to live the rest of my life like that. And I made a beeline to Rebecca and have been so faithful to the program. All 4 of those aspects are so important. I did all my reading, and I still continue to do some of that. And I stayed in touch with the community on the Facebook page. I stayed in touch with her still weekly. I ate exactly what was said for the fuelings. If I had to travel, I called her and she helped me figure that out. And I even had some glitches in how my body responded to some things. And it was important for me that I shared that with my doctor, my coach, nutrition, and they helped me morph the plan so that my body was cooperating. And so I just really appreciate the flexibility of personalizing what is needed. And nutrition is just amazing. So at any rate, in 4 months, I had lost 55 pounds. And a year and a half later is when you see that picture of me in the race and in my daughter's wedding, at my daughter's wedding. So I've been able to keep it off. And my goal for 2024 is to do a chin up like I saw another coach do. And I want to have a strong core, because those are things that will prevent a lot of the feelings of pain that you get as you get older. And I am on Medicare this year. So it's important for me to keep that strength. And in January, November of this last year, I was able to go to Norway and trips around with my daughter. And so I just have so much more energy and can do so many more things. And I'm still working on my why and remembering what that is. And I have been able to help coach friends. A friend, I was not really thinking about it. And a friend said, well, so are you going to coach me? Because otherwise I'm going to get somebody else. And so I said, okay, I'll do that. And now I have been able to work with clients who, despite traumatic events, have continued to lose weight. And one of them said, I feel sexy now for the first time in years. Another couple have gotten off or down on their medicines quite a bit. They're being active with their families for the first time, and really setting the example. And it is just really fun to watch people's lives transform. So I am grateful to David and to Rebecca and to everybody else who posts on Facebook and encourages everyone. And I hope everyone has such a wonderful experience.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Well, you're incredibly inspiring to all of us, and it's just been a joy to see what you do, not only for yourself, but what you've been able to do for others. You know, I'm just going to pop your pictures back up here again so people can see as you were talking. There's, you know, Kathy in her race gear, and then, you know, Peru, where she was struggling, to what she looked like now in Norway. And there she is with her handsome husband, Andy, as they were celebrating their daughter's wedding. So it's fantastic. So, you know, as we wrap up here today, and you heard, you know, Kathy touch on this a little bit, you know, if you decide that you would like to pursue this and maybe also become a coach, many people do that because it helps reinforce their own decision to be healthy. That was certainly true for me. But you also find that it's a way to actually make a difference to other people. It's a lot of fun. It's very fulfilling. And, you know, in addition to helping you feel good in terms of goodwill, it actually can give you some significant financial return as well. It's, you know, kind of whatever you put into it. But as someone who, you know, retired from the corporate world, I've found this to be something very meaningful, very fulfilling, and yet it's very flexible in terms of the time that you can do it. So lots of freedom. So just something to think about. And as we wrap up, you know, I'd leave you with the idea that there are 3 different options for you at this point if you're somebody that isn't already on this journey with us. And, you know, my coach David often talks about good, better, and best options. So a good option is come be part of this healthy community. There's lots of free support. Reach out to the person that invited you and, you know, connect with them. And we can certainly share with you these webinars that we have, you know, our Facebook group, things like that. Lots of great resources and recipes, and that could be fantastic. Even better, if you want more predictable results and to see things like you heard some of these folks talk about tonight, partner up with us to really put that complete program in place for you with the nutrition and your personal coach. And you'll see clinical results show that people who do that have 10 times better results than those who try to do it on their own. And clinical research data shows that. The best option, just like we talked earlier about, you know, how it can work well to continue learning if you're a teacher, you can improve your success if you're encouraging other people and having them come alongside you. So whether you just do that by being a health champion in your neighborhood, in your workplace, and so on, or you decide to actually be a coach, that's the way you can set yourself up for the best of success. So with that, I just want to thank all of you for taking the time to be with us tonight. Special thanks to everyone who came here and shared your story as one of our speakers, to Brian and Kathy and Jane and Kathy. You guys rock. But thanks to all of you for joining us, whether you're here live tonight, and I'm thrilled to see so many faces I recognize, or whether you're listening to the recording or the replay. You know, we really appreciate that you took the time to join us to make your health a priority. And we wish you great success going forward for whatever your goals may be. Thanks a lot. Have a great night, and we'll close it here. Take care. Thanks.